In this video, which is part 23 of the Coinmarketcap series for Chartjs, we're going to focus now on the cursor within this item here on this chart. So if I scroll here a bit, you will see now something very interesting. The cursor now is changing into a move cursor, but if I'm here on this button area, it will convert into a resize cursor, and if I'm going here outside of it, it goes to the default. But it will go back there, and you can see here. Of course, if I now scroll out again, like that, you can see it changes nicely and matches consistently with the situation. So let's start to look how to do this. So let's start to look now how we can create the next part here, which is putting here these lines and eventually convert the cursor into the proper item. What I want to do as well, because you might see this here, that this is really not that nice, so I want to solve this tiny item here. But what I want to do next is, if I'm going to scroll, I want, when we are on this box here basically, at that point I want to change the cursor into a move cursor. But if I'm here, I want to make sure that it's like a arrow that pointing left and right, and if we're here, we go back to default. So that's that there are basically three different conditions for the cursor as well. So let's start to work on it. So the first thing, let's solve this tiny issue here. So I'm going to scroll down here, and then all we need to do here, because we already did a lot of connections with each other, so we can just put in here on this one here. I'm going to enter, and then right, and let's say 5 pixels. Make sure you have a comma here above. Save, refresh. There you are. So now both of these are directly linked with them, and that works fine. So that's number one. The next part is putting these lines in here that allows us, or that indicates something, like a button. So we're going to scroll all the way down. I guess we can go all the way down here. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically draw within the swiper button function. Because within this swiper button function, we can now start to draw these lines. So I'm going to put an enter. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say the following. I'm going to say here ctx.stroke style, because I want to draw a new item here. And you might say, why don't we just start with the begin path? Well, you can see this, since we have 2 buttons here, or at least 2 items here, we can just reuse the code twice. I'm going to show you later on what I'm talking about. So I'm going to say here, and let's say here the color. I'm just going to use this specific color here, and even we could even use the above one, but that doesn't matter. I want to make sure we have that one independent, because I did a restore here, so that will reset whatever we did here anyway. So then what I want to do here is a line width, and we can get 2, but I think a line width should maybe be here, not too thick, but just enough. Let's put it 1.5 pixels. That should be more than sufficient. And then we're going to say here ctx.begin path. So once I did that, what I want to do now, enter, I'm going to start to move the lines. So let's start to think what we want. We want to have here 2 lines here. And what we need to do is we need to get the coordinates. And we're going to use the coordinates of the min and max here above. So these coordinates are already given. So, but the coordinates will be exactly in the center here because of the arc. So if you're familiar, what I've already indicated here with the arc, sorry, not there. This is the arc, sorry. We have here the radius. The radius indicates 10 pixels. So the radius would be from one point, from the center to one point. So that's 10 pixels. So that would mean that the full width of the circle is 20 pixels. So we're going to calculate how we're going to put it properly in the center and make sure that these lines, there will be 2 lines, will be on the right location. So we have to play around a little bit with that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, first of all, the moving point would be, let's say here up, somewhere here, not in the center, but a little bit here at the left side. And the next one, the second line, would be a little bit at the right side. So what I'm going to say here, ctx.move to with capital T, and I'm going to put in here the x and y coordinates. And the x and y coordinates in this case will be, I guess we have our swiper position that defines where the button is being drawn. So I'm going to copy that. That is the x. And then the y would be what we have to do here, because this position is in the center, so we probably have to move it a little bit to the left, so minus 3 pixels. So we're going to move to the left side, and then we can say here, we want to put it in the center, so we're going to say height, divide by 2. And then what I want to do is I want to push it up with 5 pixels. Remember, we have a radius of 10, so that will mean 20 in width, but also 20 in height. So if we do 5 pixels up, should be more than sufficient. So say here, height minus 5 as our starting point. So once I did this, I'm going to copy that, paste the other one here, but I'm going to say here will be line 2, because this will be basically the preparation of drawing. And I say preparation because we will not draw yet until we use the stroke command. So then we say here, do I want to move this to the left or the right? The answer is no. I want to make a vertical line, so I'm going to maintain this position here. And then we have here the height. And the height here, this is all same, except here we're going to say plus. So we will go down. So if I save this, make sure we have a ctx.stroke. And then finally a ctx.restore to undo whatever we did. Save that, refresh. We have a line here, and we have a line there, and the thickness of the line is quite acceptable because the border here is already 2 pixels, so the whatever is within here should be smaller, in my opinion. Of course, you can adjust it to your liking. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly the same here. And this is the reason why we don't have to copy this code here. We can just maintain this. I'm going to say here again, a begin path. Now, enter, put that in there. And say position. Now, this position will be plus 3. The reason why it's plus 3 is because now we want to move it to the right side. Refresh. There we are. Beautiful. So now we have this part here, and then we're here done. We need to work on what we call the next functionality, which is the cursor feature. So let's start to work on that. So what I want to do here is I'm going to go all the way up here. I'm going to grab here this, or this here, an object destructuring. I'm going to say here canvas. I'm going to need the canvas here for adjusting the mouse cursor. So what I'm going to do here now is the following. I'm going to say here canvas.addEventListener. And this addEventListener should be triggered on what exactly? Not on mouse over, or not on hover, but on mouse move. So it's a mouse move coordinates. So here comma, there's here echo, or the E for the event, and this here is of course the trigger event. So every time we move our mouse, it should trigger our function here. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to say here a specific function name. So we're going to say here the mouse. We can say here mouse cursor, and the mouse cursor will have a E. So that's the argument that we put in here. So once we did that, enter, and now what I want to do is I want to, well, let's start with very basic. Let's say console log, or not even console log. Let's do here the function called mouse cursor, and we can use here the parameter mouse move. It's a nice descriptive parameter because the E here is basically the mouse move event, so that's fine. So then what I want to do here is just a console log, just to show you if this works. Mouse move, save, or not even, let's do something easy. Hello, save, refresh. Alright, so now I have this one. Of course here nothing works, but if I do here, there we are. The mouse move works here nicely, so it recognizes only on this part, not on this one here, Bob, because that one is not connected, or at least not in that way. And then if I refresh here, oh, alright, surprise, somehow it changes here something. No, alright, that works all fine. Alright, so I guess when we have a console log, so we might have to figure out that one later on, or that will probably next video. If we resize it, maybe some items are starting to disappear. Anyway, doesn't matter for now. This part here is confirmed, it works. So now what I want to do here is very simple. I'm going to say here, because what we need to do here is we need to get here the console log, And I'm going to say here the mouse move dot offset x, which is basically the x coordinates, and of course the offset y would be the y coordinates. So if I save that, refresh, open up developer tab, you can see here we get the coordinates. Alright, so this is for us very important, because what I want to do now is I want to compare, are we within a certain condition, and the certain condition is very simple. What I mean by that is, are we within the minimum or maximum pixel coordinates? So, well, let me show you. Once we are within this region here, and I will just copy from top to bottom, exactly the same as the Coinmarketcap, we want to change the cursor. So within here, and we know the width of this is basically 10 pixels left and right, so we can use the same knowledge of that. So we're going to put in here an if statement. We're going to say in this if statement, we say here, if mouse move offset or dot offset x would be bigger than x dot get pixel for get pixel for value, because remember we had the minimum, and the minimum, if I'm not mistaken, here get pixel for value of min. We get here the number, but we need to get the pixel for value. So we can just grab this one here. That's exactly the same. So if it is smaller, and then what I want to do here, minus 10 pixels. So basically, if we are on this side of the button, in that case, oh, and then of course here we can do another one. And what I want to do as well is on that same button, I'm going to put in here, if the offset this would be smaller or equal, I guess we can do that one, this or equal to that, and then min max plus 10. If this is the case, what I want to do here is I want to say we need to indicate here the canvas, because we want to change the cursor. So it's a canvas dot style dot cursor, basically just CSS now, and then equal to, and what is the right term for this one? I guess this is the, let me double check quickly. Alright, sorry, I just figured out. It's east-west dash size. So that's the cursor shape that I want, because it's the arrow pointing to the east and the west side. So once I do this, save, refresh, you should see here now something. Alright, interesting. It doesn't work. Let's see. It truly doesn't work. Alright, so we have to double check that one. And then plus 10. Mouse move. Alright. So let's see. Am I correct? We have this one, but it doesn't work. Alright. So I have to check on this one as well. What's going on here? Alright, so after some checking, so this is a really bad mistake of my point. It is not east-west size, it is resize. That's unbelievable. Anyway, let's refresh that. Scroll here, and now you should see here now, there we are. But of course we have one issue, it doesn't go back to its original state. So what we have to do here is we have to resize that or put it back. So I'm going to say here else. And then I'm going to say here, we can say here, the canvas will be back to default mode. So if I save that, refresh. Now, it's on default, go there, default. And there we are. However, when we are within this area, I don't want it to be like a default mode. There should be like a arrow, or basically an arrow pointing to the north, south, east, and west. So it's a different cursor as well. And secondly, this part here doesn't function yet, similar to this. So that's what we need to do first. So what I'm going to do here, and you have to pay attention here now. So we have this. You can see this is like a double condition. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to say here, I'm just putting an enter. I know that's a bit sloppy, but at least it's visual, easier to understand for you. And I say or basically this, that's the or, double of these lines, put in there. Now what I'm going to do here is max and max. So once we are within the max, save, refresh. Now we should be here. Alright. And if I scroll down here like that, there we are. Alright, both sides is functioning absolutely well. Now I want to do the next part, which is an else if. So we have this here, but I'm going to say here, else if, and then we come there. Alright, and then enter. So within here, we have another item, which is basically if it is not within here, but it's within this area here, and maybe I should just give it a color or something, but it doesn't matter now. Like that. In that case, I want to have the different type of cursor. Exactly same like the Coinmarketcap style. So what we're going to do here, we have to understand what is exactly then the condition. We can copy this one here. I'm just going to copy this, including the end, because we have a double condition here. So if this would be bigger than this, but then plus 10. So it is surpassing it. After this, where it goes back to normal, or where it's supposed to go back to normal, we want to convert it into a different cursor. So plus 10, and then we're going to do the same here. We're going to copy this. Let's say here, and it will be smaller than this minus 10 on the max. So if we have that, and the reason why I'm saying that is because once here, it should be within here. So this 10 pixels here away from its 10. And then I guess we could do this equal. I remember I removed that one, but we can just put it back. Equal this one here, if that is equal to that. We can even do here maybe 11. Or I guess this one we don't have to do that equal, so it will not counteract on this here ball. So then what I'm going to say here, I'm going to just copy this. And then put in here the term, and then here the mouse cursor will be the move cursor. Save, refresh. Alright, interesting, we get an error here. So, and the reason why we have the error, you can see here, I forgot, I think parentheses, no? Let's check. Invalid left hand side. Alright, 591. Alright, so that is this, or of course, sorry, always like that. It is smaller or bigger or equal. So equal always at the end. It doesn't look like an arrow. I guess like that. That's why it's giving the error. There we are. Let's refresh. Scroll. Alright. There you are. You can see here. Now we have the move from here, there, and if I go there, I am on the default. I'm doing exactly the same. You can see here the east, west, resize, and there we are. If I scroll that, if I now move again, you can see the normal place there and there. Absolutely beautiful. So now we have done this part, and now it's really time to look for the tricky one, which is moving this with a drag functionality, but that will be of course in the next video.